Call the July 25th meeting of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary, please read the roll.
Chairman Aida.
Here.
Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Claffey. Commissioner Fox.
Here.
Commissioner Kane.
Here.
Commissioner Sobieski.
Here.
Commissioner Vitalica. Commissioner Braverman.
Here.
Commissioner Giangri.
We'll have Commissioner Braverman sit in for Commissioner Claffey tonight,
You forgot me. I'm here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
and Commissioner Woods is here.
How could you?
Hey, next item is approval of agenda. I'll have the town planner go over some changes that we're making to the agenda tonight.
I recommend deleting 2 items and adding 1. The items I recommend deleting are new business, item B, the site plan modification for Newington Ridge Preserve. The town attorney has ruled that the wetlands permit they obtained was inappropriate. So technically, that means at this point they don't have wetlands approval. So I recommend that this item be taken off the agenda until they resolve that. I know that there are some citizens who want to speak to this. And now that it's, if the commission agrees to, off the agenda, they'll be able to speak during public participation. The other item I recommend deleting is executive session. The town attorney has not received any new information on that item, so I don't believe he'll be here tonight to speak to that. And I recommend adding under Roman numeral 10, petitions for public hearing scheduling. I recommend adding item petition 33-18, special permit, restaurant at 14 Cedar Street. This is the existing TJ's restaurant. He wants to expand his restaurant inside the building, but because restaurants are by special permit, it requires a new special permit. And so I'm recommending you add that to the agenda for scheduling for the next meeting, to schedule the hearing for your next meeting.
Any questions on the changes to the agenda? Seeing none, can we have a motion?
So moved to approve.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we'll make those changes. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Anyone wishing to speak at this time, come forward, state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Janet Chernikoff, 4 Deming Farm Drive, Newington, Connecticut. I am the Vice President of the Newington Ridge Preserve Condo Association, as well as a homeowner that I will be speaking tonight at 4 Deming Farm Drive. I'm a little confused, Craig, because I'm here on the basis that I haven't officially received anything from the town attorney telling me that it's definitely off the table.
Well, it's definitely off tonight's TPZ agenda.
So should I still do what we discussed?
Yeah, so speak now. Right.
Oh, okay. Well, last week the wetlands approved, or the Conservation Committee approved a plan that we hadn't seen. So I want to read a letter that would have been catastrophic for us. I want to read a letter from the President to the TPZ Commission, and I will be reading it. Dear TPZ Chairman and Commissioners, the Newington Ridge Preserve Condominium Association understands the need for a drainage system behind lots 1 and 2. However, the solution approved by the Conservation Commission last week is a liability and obtrusive. Low-impact development regulations imposed on lots 1 and 2 are being held to a higher standard than the rest of the development. This plan is not acceptable to the association or homeowners for several reasons. New regulations are being imposed on a previously approved project. 2 out of the 16 lots are being required to have a filtration system. These 2 lots are small and cannot handle the proposed 10-foot wide swale and rip-rap plunge pool. The association, as majority landowners, were never consulted nor advised by the developer of the site plan changes approved by the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission failed to notify us as well. Property values will substantially go down if this swale and plunge pool is placed in these small yards. These proposed changes will no longer allow the homeowners to enjoy their backyards. The association appeals to the TPZ board to reject this solution and ask the Conservation Wetlands Commission to find a more acceptable solution to accommodate the drainage behind lots 1 and 2. We are also asking for the entire project to not be stalled and allowed to be moved forward. We originally appeared before this committee last year with safety concerns regarding our decomposing road. We are anxious to have the help of this commission to give us the safe road and drainage on our property that we were promised. We look forward to the various commissions working together to help the residents in our community live in a safe place. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me at your earliest convenience. Cheryl Rocco, President, Newington Ridge Preserve Condominium Association. Any questions on that?
Maybe the planner will have something for us to, you want to do it now, or you want to do it under planner's report, or?
Whatever you'd prefer.
You could
You want
do
me
it-
to say something as an individual homeowner or not yet?
You have more?
Yeah, short though, Frank.
Yeah, go ahead, why don't you, so we
Okay,
could
now I'm
finish up,
speaking.
and then Craig could give us an update of
Okay.
report.
I'm here before the TPZ meeting as an individual homeowner. Per my conversations and emails today with Mr. Eric Hinckley and the town attorney, it appears that the Conservation Commission's approval of the latest site modification should be rescinded due to the fact that the association was not represented nor given the opportunity to participate in this decision. The fact that the property behind 2 homeowners could have been destroyed by this decision when there were alternatives presented that would have accomplished a similar outcome is quite disturbing. We purchased our homes having been told by the developer's real estate agent that our back lot would be a minimum of 20 feet. The proposed swale behind my house would have taken 10 of the 20 feet. We have grandchildren that like to kick a soccer ball, play croquet and volleyball in the backyard during our family gatherings. This plan would eliminate these opportunities and restrict the use and enjoyment of our backyard, as well as greatly diminish our property value, making it more difficult, if not impossible, to sell should and when that time comes. The Conservation Commission was presented with a letter from David Held, PE, which is, what did you say, engineer? Property?
Professional engineer.
Professional engineer, landscaper, from the Provost and Rivero Incorporated with an alternative plan. There are no plans to fertilize the hill behind lots 1 and 2. This will remain wild. Therefore, the runoff of fertilizer from our backyards is no different than that of my neighbors, which drain directly into the wetlands. You are all aware of the problems this community has faced and continues to face. Therefore, I am requesting that should this recent modified plan prevail, you reject it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. The planner.
So, I'm not going to speak to the substance of the change to the plan that the homeowners are objecting to. I'll speak to the legality of the application. When Griswold Farms LLC, the developer, submitted their TPZ site plan application and their wetlands permit application, they indicated themselves as the owner of the property. But since then, the tax assessor was asked to look into it, and the tax assessor the other day informed the staff that the homeowners association owns some 67%. Now, each of those words in the legal context of public interest ownership associations are very complicated. So, but the town attorney, upon getting this information, feels that in that case the application was improper. It should have been signed off by the homeowners association as majority owners. So that has thrown that approval in limbo. It also throws your application in limbo, and I'll be talking to Mr. Massimino tomorrow about what he needs to do to perfect the application that he has in front of you, namely go to the homeowners and get them to be co-applicants, because they are also property owners. So that's the process that we're going to have to now deal with, because it turns out there are multiple owners of this property.
Could you, Mr. Chairman, could the planner explain a little bit in detail on what was approved by the Wetlands Commission?
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah.
This baseball bat represents a swale, a shallow depression in the backyard of units 1 and 2. And this area here is the riprap plunge pool that Ms. Chernikov mentioned. What this plan shows is a riprap plunge pool, which is where water, I'll just say coming down the hill, discharges to daylight, hits this rock, which then dissipates the velocity of the water so that it slowly travels through the swale where it enters a yard drain, which then goes into a pipe and brings it to the wetlands up here. The purpose of this swale, it will be landscaped. It will be planted with specific vegetation that's specifically chosen to help take nutrients out of the stormwater runoff. And the Wetlands Commission wanted that vegetated swale to cleanse the runoff from behind lots 1 and 2 and the hill to the upper right of the plans before it gets into that large wooded swamp between this project and the Berlin Turnpike. So that was the change that the Conservation Commission imposed on the applicant. The applicant basically said, if that's what you want, I'll do it. And then it came to the awareness of the homeowners, who are now obviously concerned that they're going to lose pretty much their backyards.
Yeah, I understand. The 95% of the runoff coming off that is coming from the hill. Okay?
Probably.
Very small percentage is coming from lot 1 and 2. And that hill area is going to be all natural. There's no pavement up there. It's just woods. So it's not going to be cut. It's not going to be, to the best of my knowledge, it's going to be just wild. So there would be no fertilizers up there or anything like that would run down and then become a problem.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
How do we get to the point where the project is built and the Conservation Commission is weighing in on it now? And then making major changes to a plan that's been approved for so many years?
Well,
How does that happen?
Right. Well, the revised plan that Griswold submitted to the Wetlands Commission for the Wetlands Commission approval, the revised plan, and the commissioners may remember seeing this, it would have had a yard drain there, a yard drain there, an underground pipe to carry the water from there to there to the discharge point. So those 2 yard drains are new, and the Conservation Commission was concerned that those yard drains would collect water laden with nutrients and then transported unmitigated to the wetlands area. So the Wetlands Commission therefore dictated this treatment to cleanse the amount of, the small amount of stormwater runoff in this area.
Whose design is that?
Well, it was
Design that
it was
system.
designed by the applicant's engineer, Mr. Held of Provost and I forget the firm's name, but the engineer himself, in a memo to the Conservation Commission, suggested alternatives to a landscaped swale that would have also treated the nutrients, but the Conservation Commission said, no, we want the vegetated swale.
Mr. Woods?
My concern with what I'm hearing the town attorney has ruled on is that now liability is on the homeowners, that they will be the applicant. They're going to be the major applicant in this. They can't go forward with that. So anything, including what I'm hearing now, any applications that comes before us, so they're on the hook for this. I've never heard of this before. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that a development that is 2/3 of the way done is now the homeowner's responsibility and no longer the builder's.
It's It's my understanding that it's both the developer and us, but we have majority, so he can't put in systems like this without letting us know.
Again, if they're the majority, and they are the majority, where's the liability land? With the homeowners association, not with the developer.
Oh.
Financially, it's on your backs, not on the developer. So this is taking it away from the developer and dumping it onto your backs. I don't know if that's what you want.
It's, yeah.
Not necessarily.
They're the applicant.
Because they're both going to be applicants, the association and the developer, but the association's going to hold the developer to the financials on it, okay, because that's the way their agreements are working. I find it troubling that they're so concerned about some runoff going into the wetlands there. You could, I gotta wonder, I mean, there's all the other lots that are close to the wetlands, and they're saying, okay, these two lots, 1 and 2, we're gonna restrict it because we're worried about the fertilizers, but the rest of them we're not worried about. Well, if they were so worried about the fertilizers going into the wetlands, you could also probably put a condition that no fertilizers be used in the rear yards. And you could go to like a compost, a natural fertilizer. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but is there any other type of fertilizers that, Steve, that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, there's organic-based fertilizers.
Organic-based.
Yeah, I don't understand this, but this really needs to go back to them. We could discuss it all we want, but what we want to do with this piece of property really doesn't mean anything. It's under their purview.
Yes.
Again, I think it's a bit of overkill. I think there's a way to probably still get the same effect and build this plunge pool further down the line, off in the backyard, just before it gets into the wetlands. You can dump that, and maybe go back to just the 2 drains there to collect the water, and then have it spill out into a plunge pool before it goes into the wetlands. But again, that's up to them, not us. But I still have concerns about the liability switch here. I think it's an issue down the road.
Commissioner Sobieski.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, the house is on to the left. There's also yard drains in there that go out and go directly into the swale there. I mean, into the pool. And they're not being subjected to the same criteria as this, so I have concerns with that. You know, and I agree that I think this is going to be a burden on homeowners. Thank you.
May I say something?
Yeah, and then we're going to cut this.
Yeah, definitely. I have this letter, if anybody would like to see it, from the engineer who suggested the inclusion of the water quality swale severely impacts any usable space in the backyards of Unit 1 and 2. As an alternate to the recommended approach, I would suggest that the developer contractor utilize a turf-type tall fescue grass seed in the rear of the units and install 3 yard drains as previously proposed in lieu of the water quality swale. Turf-type tall fescue, if I'm saying it right.
You are.
Okay, results in a low-maintenance, drought-tolerant lawn in comparison to the typical cool season turf grass mixes. This will allow for a good-looking lawn area without the need for excessive fertilizer and lawn chemicals, which seem to be the primary concern. The previous drainage system design will minimize the impacts to usable areas in the rear of Units 1 and 2 while still resolving the drainage concerns of the Unit 1 owner. Further, there will be no continual maintenance required with this alternative approach. And it's my understanding, I wasn't at the meeting, that the Conservation Commission said no to this. And I don't know why, and I don't know if they even discussed this with the town engineer as to why.
Okay, well, you could leave that, if you could, do you have a copy for us?
We have it.
Oh, you have a copy. Okay. We have it, so it'll be part of the record.
Okay. And again, from what I understand, the reason for all this is because the fertilizer from the hill. And there is no fertilizer on the hill. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Thank you.
The hill's not even their property. That hill's not even their property, right? Most of it belongs to somebody else.
Right, Walgreen, yep.
Is there anything else on this issue that we have to do at this point?
No.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this time? Public participation? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, remarks by commissioners? At this time, anything? Okay, minutes of, no, there are no minutes. Oh, yes, there are the minutes of July 11th.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any corrections, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business, you want to read this, Mike, petition 1218?
Petition 12-18, site plan modification at 49 Fen Road, a walk-in medical center LLC, owner applicant Barton N. Bovee, P.O. Box 7316, Kensington, Connecticut, contact, decision, deadline, July 25th, 2018.
You're representing the applicant.
Yes, Bart Bovee, for the record.
Go ahead.
Yes, I know we're at our deadline for an approval, and we worked real hard to satisfy the comments. We did do a response to the comments that planning, we pretty much had done, but engineering, we had submitted those plans last week. We did set up a meeting last Thursday with staff, met with Craig and John and Gary, went over the stuff. I responded that evening with a memo of about 16 items, which were outstanding based on the comments that we saw. Craig was there at the meeting, and we responded with revised plans back on the 23rd with a response to the memo which detailed all of the comments. I'd like just to basically go over the changes we made to the plan and why we think we're pretty close to what we had. If you recall, we originally came in with a 3,000 square foot building. The plan before you see is Fen Road. Our site is to the west side of Fen Road, just to the south of El Egreso Boulevard, where the intersection for Route 9 is located. Originally, this site was conceived for 1,800 square feet when we had the original northerly portion of the building. We're coming in for a modification because we're looking to acquire the piece to the south, which is half the old Barber Road right-of-way, and adding on a piece to the back. We originally came in with 3,000 square feet. The initial comments from Craig came back and said we didn't meet the open space requirement, so we came back and I showed you the commission this revised plan last month or a month and a half ago, which shows the building reduced by about 16%, or just a little over 2,500 square feet. We did modify the parking lots to satisfy both Craig and the engineering comments. We did add, for example, sidewalks. I think one of the commissioners here suggested we tie the sidewalks across. We did this. And I won't go through all 50-something comments that the engineering had, but they had some grading questions regarding some of the driveway entrances and the steepness of those, which we had addressed. We had revised some of the drainage comments. They were looking to make sure that most of those catch basin locations drain most of the impervious surface, and we incorporated that. They had some concerns about the setbacks for the septic system location, and we looked at those. We looked at the state health code. We made some modifications on the setbacks and the pipes to make sure we had tight joint pipes. I had neglected to show that the building that we had proposed was going to have a basement, so I reflected the site and adjusted the grades to accept the site for the basement, and just numerous other changes. We talked about landscaping. We've added landscaping plans. We've added and shown garbage can locations to the rear of the building. We've adjusted the grades of the parking lot and the swales, so we weren't impacting. And Craig, I don't know if they've got this memo from the 23rd that showed those last bit of comments that we had.
No, they don't have that memo.
Okay, but we had revised that And I saw what the town engineer had suggested, some kind of conditional approval if this commission seemed to want to approve this plan. I really think we're really close. Personally, I don't even know if they were even be able to look at the revised plans because the engineering memo doesn't even reflect the revisions. It reflects the comments on the meeting. But most of the comments that we had on that meeting on the 20th, we've addressed on the revised plans, which Craig has, and that is part of the plan you see before you. So with that, I'll just open it up to questions and answer as many of them as I can for you.
Any comments, Mr. Planner?
No.
Commission members, any comments on the plan? Questions? It would have been easier for you to tell us what you did not put on the plan than what you did. I mean,
Well,
what are you lacking on this plan that was suggested by the staff? Do you know?
I believe we've addressed all the comments that we had on the Friday meeting with the revised set that I brought up the Craig on Monday.
Time to review that?
Well, yeah, the engineering staff did look at the plans that you submitted on Monday, but the engineering staff still feels that there are a number of unanswered questions and physical changes to the plans that have not been made that they need you to make.
Well, I thought we were, but regardless, I think we're much, much closer to where we were a week and a half ago with the plans. And personally, I'm comfortable that we're, as I mentioned before, I think it's just some fine tuning of the plans to satisfy engineering. But I think most of the major comments with regard to the grading issues and making sure we don't impact any adjacent properties and the hydraulic analysis, I think we've come pretty close to satisfying that.
Right. Yeah, the commission may notice the suggested motion that I've given you. It contains the standard condition that the plans shall be revised to address the town engineer's comments of blah, blah, blah. But it goes on to say, and this is the engineer's recommendation, that the second condition be, this approval is made conditional on approval of the septic system by the Central Connecticut Health District, because the engineer's concern is with the soil. And if the soil can't support the system as designed, yes, I mean, there's a remedy for every problem if money is no object, but probably bring in new fill, possibly to address the requirements of the Central Connecticut Health District, but it could be very complicated. And that's why the town engineer recommends that if you do approve it, specifically mention as a condition that this approval is subject to CCHD, to their approval of revised plans.
Get any feedback from the state of Connecticut about the curb cuts?
Well, no, they won't officially recognize an application until we come before them, number one, owning property, number two, having a plan. Again, I did talk to professionals about the idea of trying to put something down the center median, and they basically said it wouldn't fly just from a maintenance standpoint and a seasonal standpoint from the plowing. I mean, I did do some research. That Fenn Road does have traffic. It has about 28,000 cars, which is close to what Cedar Road has for vehicles. Most of those curb cuts that have been approved for Cedar Road have been across traffic, left and right turns. We've limited our turns to just right in, left out only. So we're kind of going over and above what's been recently approved on Cedar Street. So I'm fairly confident that we're going to satisfy the state from the standpoint of signage and the directional arrows and limiting the turns.
What's the frontage of the piece when you acquired the town piece?
The frontage of the piece? The frontage of the piece was originally or a little less than 94 feet. And that's kind of weird because the parcel kind of swings up. The added frontage that we're acquiring from the town is 223.75 feet.
Okay. And the distance between the two curb cuts?
I don't know, Craig, if you could zoom up, I know it's shown on that plan.
Is there a dimension on there?
Yeah.
Dominic? No, dimension that shows the
It's right there under 550. I can get my plans out. Or it's right under the State Route 505, there's a dimension there. Pardon me? 175, thank you.
175 feet.
And I will say this,
I don't know about that.
pardon me?
I said, I don't know about that. Is that on the map?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's right under the State Route 505 on the plan.
Yeah, Mr. Kane? Yeah, down here.
No, they got it, okay, from the center to center, yep.
And I will tell you about the Central Connecticut Health District because I do a lot more septic work in Berlin, and I know Newington doesn't see a lot of septic stuff, is typically 7-year-old test pits. Not much happens in the world in 7 years on the ground from the standpoint of changing the soils. So typically what we've done with what the health district has let us do, where we have existing soils, is let us do confirming test pits at the time that we're going to start the foundation to confirm. I mean, the site has not been reused, it has not been staged on, there's been no disturbance of the soil, and the tests were done relatively close to the location of the building, generally in the location of the proposed building. I've worked a lot with the health district, and I've worked a lot from the standpoint of what's tested, not tested. And a lot of times we'll do 2 and 3 acre lots and subdivisions, and we'll have tests a lot further away than where the septic systems are shown here. And again, we've done some confirming tests, so we've got no problem in working with the health district and getting this thing to fly.
This ever brought to the traffic authority town of Newington?
No.
I know it's not a requirement because it's a state road, but it's still in the town. It's still in the town of Newington, and there's a lot of areas still to be developed in the immediate area right around this site. So the traffic's not going to get any better. It's just going to get tremendously worse.
Well, there'll be no development on the west side of this road, as the rest
Right
of the
across
site
the
is.
street, there's
Right, there's a
several.
gas station.
Yeah, there's several pieces there that are still vacant, that are being marketed now. So the total square footage of the building is 25,000 square feet? 2,500 square feet?
2,520 square feet. It's basically an increase of 720 feet from the plan that was originally approved.
I'm not comfortable with the 2 curb cuts like that on a piece of property to support a 2,500 square foot building.
So the plan that was already approved was how many square feet?
1,000.
I don't know.
The original building was 1,800 square feet.
1,800?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Chairman, when that plan came in, if I remember correctly, the landscape was different. There was a large earth embankment there, and there was a wall being proposed on the original plan that we saw that we approved. Is that substantial changes that would have to come back to us if this wasn't approved?
Right, which that's probably one of the reasons why the applicant has come back to you, because they're not going with the retaining wall that the original plan called for, because there has been a lot of movement of dirt since the original plans were approved.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Steve?
Yeah.
Stanley? Anything?
No.
Mr. Fox? Does no one see a problem with the curb cuts at this point? It's just me. If that's the case,
I think the traffic is going to be really low. I don't see a lot of traffic coming in, not on the road. I realize the road is busy, but I don't think the building is going to generate a lot of traffic. And they're doing everything they can with the right in and right in and left out.
No, I'd like to correct the record. I'm Stuart Calais, 641 Willard Avenue. I've been on this process since 2010, and I'd just like to quickly address some things. You had some discomfort about the right-in. It's right-in, right-out, Steve.
Yes.
And in terms of the volume of traffic, The clinic I have run since 2007 has served the community now from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. And even with the, since I started, I was the first urgent care in town. And now that we have 43 competitors, okay? So there's no shortage of urgent care centers. And I can tell you, I know the pulse of the urgent care industry, and I can tell you that we see perhaps 1 to 2 patients an hour. So in, right out to my clinic will be 1 to 2 people an hour. So there's no volume issues here. As far as the second curb cut, that accommodates a small office. It'll probably be an accountant or a lawyer that may even see 1 person an hour. So there's almost no volume coming in and out of there. And, you know, I know that we like to micromanage every decision, and that's wise. However, I'm sitting here representing now 8 years of planning on the site. We are here with Bart Bovee and Attorney Kelly to let you know that we have crossed every T and dotted every I, have gone to great expense and effort to accommodate every need and wish of the engineering, and we've worked with everyone from Ed Meehan to Mr. Greenlaw, now Mr. Firestein, I believe his name is, and I've met with him myself. I've taken time from my own clinic. I've served the public for 12 years, every single day of the year. And I'd like to see this done, and Bart has worked very hard to answer your questions, and the engineer may have continued questions or conditions, and we will always abide by them. I've gone to great lengths to satisfy every question, and if you have more questions, I'll step forward, because I'm happy to make sure that this is probably the best built building in town. As a doctor slash small business person, I've gone to Lowe's and I see realtors improving their properties with the cheapest materials. And I'm looking at my cart and I'm buying the most expensive materials. And I say, what am I doing wrong? Well, I'm building the best quality things that are out there. Because I want it to last, I want it to look good. It's a signature location, and I want it to represent a very fine building that you'll be proud of. And as far as the soil goes, that is I've been told by everyone over the last 7 years, that is the best soil in town for a septic system. It's pure sandy loam. I've dug it myself. I've been in an excavator, done the perk tests with, I think, 2 CHCD people 8 years ago, and they even remarked it. And there are documents in there, and I'm sure Bart has covered them. And I've gone in the office myself, and I could show you a sample of it. It's the most beautiful soil on earth, and for filtration. So I think that, you know, if I could bring a sample, I'd show it to you. But in all honesty, we have done everything we can to demonstrate good faith that this will be a project that everyone in this town would be proud of. I've been at this for 12 years now, and, you know, after about 10 years, you start bumping into your patients everywhere, and they all say, well, when is that building going to get built? And I just say, well, you know, we're just taking one step at a time, be patient, because I'm committed for the long term. I own some property at 641 Willard, and you may or may not have seen somebody here in the commission say, hey, I love what you did to that property, and I do. I'm a great steward of properties here. I'm in it for the long run. I'm not here to develop and leave. I'm here until I pass away. And anyone doctor that takes over the building will have a building that will certainly last a good 50, 60 years. So, but anyway, I love to talk. My secretaries love to say that I talk too much. But I really did have to step forward, because when somebody has any concern, I can tell you that I am the most compulsive, accurate, detailed person you'll find. And I do this work because I truly love it, okay? I'm not in it for the lifestyle. I dedicate my life to this work. And this building is a very large component of my life, and it'll serve the town well.
Okay. You sold the pair of shoes, and then the customer walked out without them.
Exactly.
Because you oversold them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. You cleared up some
Thank you.
Information for us. Okay.
Yeah, you know, it is our job to try to keep the road cuts down to the minimum. I'm not really a fan of the double road cuts here, right in, right out, and a right in, right out. I think I might have asked you once before, Bart, why wasn't this building able to move all the way to one side and only have one right in and one right out?
Because right now, this building is about 30 feet deep. If we pushed it all the way over, the building would be approaching 24 feet or 22 feet. And you would need to move it over 60 feet to be able to get a second row in there. And it's just not, it's not a functional building at 22 feet to lay out stuff. So we tried every conceivable.
Moved it over to the right?
Yes, pushed it
the
over
north.
to the south.
No, but why can't you push it to the north?
Well, then you won't be able to get the parking because the property gets narrower and you're not deep enough to have the parking.
Yeah, it starts off, it's wider at the north than it is
Yeah,
at the
as
south.
a trapezoid.
It's not an easy piece of property to work with. I recognize that, and I think staff has recognized it, and I think this commission looks at it and sees that too. We've really tried every conceivable way to make this thing work with the setbacks and the shape of the property. And we think we've done a good job. And going to the curb cut, if we take this to the state and the state says no curb cut, there's no curb cut. So the state is not going to give you is not going to give us a curb cut if they don't want to give us a curb cut. So that we know that going forward that, that's the risk that we're taking. But we, as Doctor mentioned, minimal traffic leaving the site. It's far less intensive than some of the sites with similar traffic on Cedar Street. And I know those sites are tough on Cedar Street to move out. You've got a light just to the north of us. So when that light goes, people are easily going to be able to get out of this site and not have problems moving through the site or out of the site and backing up. So what you're seeing for a queuing length, the worst case may be 2 cars, but you're not going to get 2 cars. You're probably going to get 1 car. So you're not going to have backups on the site. It's going to function.
Commissioner Payne?
Yeah, Bart, I see on the map that you have it designed as Phase 1 and Phase 2. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, the doctor only needs his first portion of the building, so he wants to build his portion of the site first, and then he'll do the second part of the site as he gets a tenant. It may be at the same time, but right now we're anticipating the doctor just wants to build his part of the building first and do his parking.
And finally, if this is not approved, would he still be able to build his doctor's office there as per the old plans there you have?
My guess would be he would come back in with the old plan, and because if he doesn't get the approval, I don't think he's going to purchase the property, or he's going to give second thoughts about purchasing the property from the town. So he'll, go back to what he had originally on the site.
Right, which was just one office for himself.
Right, but we see the potential for doing something good for the town, creating some tax dollars, generating some money for the town with the purchase of the property. It's really found money for the town, and I think it's a win-win for everybody involved.
Thank you.
Well, the size of the addition is predicated on the parking, because you only have like 5 parking places on that side of the building. Am I reading that correctly?
1, 2, 3, 6.
Six parking places. So you're not going to, that's going to dictate what you put in there. And I think it's going to be basically what you said, a low-key office-type use.
Correct.
Because you only have 6 places.
It
Okay,
is located in an industrial zone, so there are limitations to what can go in there.
okay, good. This is not a public, this is a site plan review. What is the pleasure of the commission? We have to act on it tonight, so we'll put it on.
Or act on it now, or move it to old business and act on it later.
Just move the old business or close and move it to old business?
Okay, we'll move it to old business item, the second item. Okay, we're going to act on it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mike, read the next one is 2718, which is the hospital piece.
Petition 27-18, site plan approval at 181 Patricia M. Genova Drive, Hartford Healthcare, owner, BL Companies, applicant Donald Simonides, 129 Patricia M. Genova Drive, Newington, Connecticut, contact.
everyone. My name is Matt Bruton. I'm an engineer from BL Companies. I know we've received some comments from planning. We haven't received any comments from engineering yet, but wanted to give you a quick overview so you can see it before we come back next month. As was mentioned, this existing site is 181 Patricia Genovia Drive. This also has a frontage on John H. Stewart Drive. Just to give you some orientation, Patricia Genovia Drive, and this is John Stewart Drive. There's two existing buildings on the property, this large one here and this large one here. It's a 44-acre parcel in the PL zone. Currently, Hartford Healthcare owns both facilities. Topography slopes greatly from Patricia Genovia Drive down to John Stewart Drive. No flood zones. What we're looking to do, which was previously approved in 2010, 2011, was an expansion to the parking lot. That never moved forward because of a blown generator and some other expenses that the hospital had to take care of prior to allocating money to any additional site work. So coming back with a new plan for an expansion of the parking lot, so adding about 101 parking spaces to the facility. From what I've been told by Hartford Healthcare, they're moving some employees from other various facilities to this site, and they need to expand for that reason. So what you see here is where we're placing the expansion. It's currently in a mostly grassed field area adjacent to the existing parking lot. There's a little bit of woods that we're taking down as well. There's no proposed utilities except for the site lighting, which obviously would be full cutoff LED with no glare outside the property line. Property line's pretty big, so it's not much of an issue there. We do have a proposed stormwater management system. We're increasing impervious area. We want to balance those pre versus post peak flows. We're waiting for the engineer's comments on that, so I'm sure there'll be some revisions based on his review. In addition to the plans that we have submitted, there's an erosion and sediment control plan that details like I was saying, we also submitted an erosion and sediment control plan that includes construction entrance, silt fence, silt sacks, erosion control blankets, temporary diversion swales, just so there's no problems with erosion during construction. And obviously the stormwater management plan has long-term maintenance of the property in terms of cleaning out stormwater, snow removal, landscaping, and that like. We've also, besides adding the parking spaces, also add landscaping. There's lawn areas and there's a variety of trees, shrubs, and perennials. We have 11 trees, 71 shrubs, and 40 perennials. Some of the trees we have are red sunset maple, flowering dogwood, white oak, and a little leaf linden. And this is a blow up of the parking lot that's going to be off the existing facility. So this road that clips the bottom here is John H. Stewart Drive. This is that entrance off John H. Stewart. This is the existing parking lot. We're proposing to add a fourth leg to this intersection and have an enclosed parking lot. So that's a quick 5-minute gist, but I'll happy to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Commissioner Sobieski.
Yeah, so basically you're taking the other plan that you had and expanding it, the previous plan that was in here, am I correct?
So the previous plan it was actually done by BL Companies, not by me. There was an expansion of this same lot. It was a different orientation, though. They were expanding on both sides. So this is the lot. They were expanding a little bit over this side and a little bit on that side. We're just going to keep it to this area at the moment.
Will that handle the stormwater flow management system underneath? Are you going to put it back
Yes.
underneath again?
Yeah, the previous approval had an underground detention system. We're proposing a new one for the addition of this pervious area. Waiting for the town engineer's comments, what he thinks about it, but whether it's underground or above ground, we're going to accommodate all the additional impervious area.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner remarks, comments, any questions for the applicant? Steve?
Will the underground storage meet the low-impact development?
So obviously, it's not as low impact as a rain garden or something else like that. So that's why we're waiting for the engineer's comments. But the issue is, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is the groundwater that we've seen from the previous approval underneath the existing parking lot is, in some cases, a foot to a foot and a half under the pavement. So there's really no infiltration ability for this. So we are providing the volume to detain the peak flows, but unfortunately, adding a rain garden wouldn't get the infiltration that we would need to actually call it a rain garden. If we have to do an above-ground basin, we will. We just unfortunately can't call it an infiltration basin because of the lack of the ability for the water to go into the ground.
You
So,
actually might be able to create a rain garden that actually is wet. Most of them aren't in the end.
right. So we're waiting for the town engineer's comments on that. So we'll obviously come to an agreement on the treatment of that stuff, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, the nice thing is it looks like this site is going to be used maybe a little bit further than it has. It's a big piece of property that is.
Yeah, this actually doesn't even
Big.
show the extent of the property. It
Yeah.
actually continues further down, but that's a steep slope, so. They're looking to bring some more employees to the business, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments, questions for the applicant? Mr. Planner? Okay, what's the next step?
Leave it on the agenda under new business, and at the next meeting, hopefully the applicant will have responded to the town engineer's comments, and will be in a position to recommend approval at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike, 3617.
Petition 36-17, special permit, section 6.2.5, freestanding sign at 3318 Berlin Turnpike on Costello Road. Stone Rock LLC, owner Michelle Lawrence, 55 Willowbrook Drive, Berlin, Connecticut, applicant contact.
Okay, the applicant is not here. What are we doing with this? Mr.
Right.
Planner?
The hearing was closed at the last meeting and moved to tonight for action.
Okay. Want to take it up now for an
Yes,
action?
right.
Okay.
And there's a draft motion in your agenda packet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Payne?
Yeah, I just want to state that I'm not in favor of this petition. This is not a corner lot. It does not have frontage on the Berlin Turnpike, or it does not have frontage on Costello Road. It only has a easement for a right-of-way. And so it truly really isn't a corner lot. So I can't support this. And I know the planner mentioned Stu Leonard's. He thought it was similar to Stu Leonard's, but Stu Leonard's property has frontage on Berlin Turnpike, and they had frontage on Raleigh Street. So it's not really the same.
And they also have frontage on Maselli Road.
Yeah, so I just can't support it because our regulations clearly say that the only time you're allowed to have two signs on the property is if you truly have a corner lot, and it references footages. And that's all. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the,
Could I ask Commissioner Payne to
Yeah.
reiterate what you said? So you're saying this lot does not have frontage on drawing a blank, the side street?
Costello.
Costello, it's just an easement?
From what I can see there, it only has a easement or a right-of-way where the driveway is. It doesn't have typical corner lot frontage.
Well,
And
it's-
our regulations reference, footage, 400 or 500 feet to have a distance between the signs. So this doesn't even have, this has, 20 feet, maybe 25 foot right-of-way to get in and out on the rear on Costello Road. And even on the Berlin Turnpike, it doesn't have frontage. It has,
driveway.
it's a rear lot. That's what this is. It's a rear lot with a right-of-way from two different streets.
Right.
And I really don't like the public going in to the back of the property there because there's tenants there that are parking in the rear of the building, and you can't get around on one side. You're forced over to the other side. I just think that it would be better for everybody to be entering through the Berlin Turnpike unless it's a delivery, which if they want to come through the back, they could. But I think for retail customers, we should be encouraging people to use the Berlin Turnpike entranceway.
We got some conflicting information because we thought that the sign was going to be changed to basically a directional sign for deliveries, and then we get the application with the pictures of the sign. The sign is a 7 foot by, I'm not sure, I thought it was like
35, 40 square feet.
What was it, Mike?
It was 35, 40 square feet.
Per side. Yeah, it was like 7 feet by 5 feet by 7 feet. It was a big sign.
That was the first sign.
No, that's the one that we saw last meeting.
Right, that's why I came back to you. That's why you reopened the public hearing, to be able to discuss the different size sign.
It was, the original sign, I think, was, the second sign was 5 square feet smaller, or 5 feet smaller, 5 square feet per side smaller. It's still a huge sign, 7 foot by 5 foot. I think that's what it was.
Right. Could we go back to the site itself? According to the survey that they submitted, the parcel has 36.62 feet of frontage on Costello Road. So it is fee simple. You can now deny the application for the qualitative reasons that you said, but it does have frontage on Costello Road.
I just don't think it's a typical corner lot.
You're absolutely right. It's not.
It's not a typical
Absolutely
corner lot.
not.
Yes, it technically has frontage for a driveway there, but it's not the typical corner lot that our regulations actually reference and speak about.
Any comments from anyone else? Mike? Stanley? Oh, what section of the regulations are you referring to, Mr. Payne?
Be 6.2.5, right? Freestanding sign?
6.2.5, freestanding business signs. Down on A, only one freestanding sign may be permitted per property, except on corner lots under one ownership. The commission may grant a second freestanding sign when it finds that the frontage length of each intersection street is at least 500 feet, and that the distance between the signs as measured along the street right-of-way is not less than 400 feet.
Comments, Mr. Planner?
Right, and that's why in my memo, I pointed out that in 2 previous occasions, you did approve a second freestanding sign. You did it for Stu Leonard's, which is the same situation. Stu Leonard's has the bulk of their frontage on the Berlin Turnpike, but they have a little bit of frontage on Payne Road. And the medical office building up on the Berlin Turnpike at the north end has most of the frontage on the Berlin Turnpike and a little bit on that East West Street.
Stu Leonard's has frontage on the Berlin Turnpike, and it has frontage on Maselli Road. Maselli Road runs from Payne Road to Raleigh Street, right through the development. That's a road. That is not a right-of-way, not a driveway. That's a public.
Correct.
It's town of Newington Road. So on the west side of Stu Leonard's, he's on a corner lot because the road is right there.
Well, even without taking that into account, there is frontage on Raleigh Street there that the development had.
Stu Leonard's?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember, the Stu Leonard's is a combination of the Sam's and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they had frontage on Raleigh and Berlin Turnpike. As far as the Prospect Street, the second sign on the Prospect Street, I guess I should have questioned that. But just because we do something wrong in the past doesn't mean that we should continue doing it wrong.
Agreed.
Okay.
Well, okay, if that's the consensus, then,
Well, I don't know if it's a consensus. It's Mr. Payne's interpretation. I don't
well, let me
know.
just go on. I was going to suggest that we table it, and I prepare a draft motion for denial to bring back to you at your next meeting, so that you'll have substantive reasons for a denial, based on the comments that were made and maybe some additional comments.
You can deny this, too.
That's what I'm saying, deny.
Just deny this.
Right, but I'll have a motion to deny with reasons rather than do it on the fly.
Approve, and then you have whoever wants it denied, deny.
Well, he wants to get substantial information
Reasons.
on there, reasons why, so that it has some substance.
Right.
But
Right.
there again, that's just my opinion of reading the regulation of 6.25. Other commissioners may have other opinions.
Okay, well, I need some.
I wasn't on the commission when you did the medical facility on the Berlin Turnpike. Can you help me with that? Why you decided to allow that? Because obviously it's the same exact situation.
Well, as I recall, the staff looked at the Stu Leonard's as precedent and didn't raise it as an objection, since we saw other places in town where it had been done. I heard what the chairman just said about how Stu Leonard's has other frontage elsewhere. But as I recall, that was the staff's feeling when the medical office building was being reviewed, was there were other cases where it's not a classic corner lot, but it's a lot that has frontage on a main street and a side street, and therefore was given the right to have a second freestanding sign.
Yeah, and Stu Leonard's is, again, most of the frontage is on the Berlin Turnpike. There is a small piece of Maselli Road. Is that,
I don't know about that. Mr.
I don't
Commissioner
know
Payne
about
brought
that,
that up.
There is some frontage
Maselli
on
Road
Maselli.
runs from Payne Road into the complex. When you get to Sam's, you take a left hand.
Yep.
And you follow it around. That road that runs,
That's
that
technically
follows
Maselli
around,
Road?
that's part of, that's Maselli Road. And it runs all the way through to Raleigh Street.
And then my next question, is there a sign on Raleigh Street? Is there a sign on Raleigh, Maselli?
There's no
and the
sign on
Turnpike?
Raleigh Street. The only sign on Maselli Road is on the corner of Payne and Maselli.
No, there is a sign on Raleigh Street, too.
Is there? That
Yes,
says
there is.
That says
so-
Maselli Road?
No, there's a sign, there's a directory sign on Raleigh Street.
No,
for the
that's
project.
not what he asked. He asked if there was a sign,
No.
street
Yeah,
sign,
you know,
right?
For Stu Leonard's. Is there a Stu Leonard sign?
On
an
Raleigh Street.
advertisement sign on Raleigh Street?
Yes.
And there is on Maselli Road, and there is on the Berlin Turnpike. So technically, that's three signs.
Well, no, the one on Payne Road is a sign that is for the storage units, because it's on the storage unit's property, yet the sign contains extra space for additional signage for those pieces of property off-site. Very complicated back then. But that's a third sign. Put that aside. When that development came in, it had frontage on the Berlin Turnpike and Raleigh Street, and it was allowed 2 directory signs. So they had a directory sign on the Berlin Turnpike, and they have a directory sign on Raleigh Street. And then the third sign came up because they wanted some additional signage so that people wouldn't go all the way down to the Berlin Turnpike and around to try to feed them down Maselli Road. And the only way that was able to accomplish that was Ed Meehan, I believe, worked with the storage units, and they chose to give permission to put the sign up there, and they felt that they could put the additional signage for the tenants in there, but if you notice it, it has a sign space for the storage units too.
That was a whole other can of worms. I don't know if I want to get into it, because I didn't think we were supposed to be able to do that either. I didn't think you could put a sign up on someone else's property, right?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it today, but they did it back then.
I'm okay with this application, but, I mean, if the votes aren't there, that they're not there. But I could read it and.
Mike?
The one on Prospect, they agreed to a one-sided sign. If you're heading west, that's the only time you could see the sign. You couldn't see it if you were going east, so you wouldn't take a left turn. That's why they got their second sign, because we had a problem with that too. Big left turn across traffic.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have objection to that. Obviously, he's only looking to have it seen from coming up Costello Road.
Right, that's not.
I can't imagine he would object to that. No one's gonna see it coming the other way.
Right.
Stanley?
Well, Dominic has a point, and so does Steve. I didn't realize Maselli Road went all the way down like that to Raleigh.
It does.
I seem to think.
I didn't know that either.
I think the state, when I was working, we ended maintenance we ended town aid right at that, driveway to Sam's. Okay, in the back. So if you're saying it goes all the way through, the town had better fill out an ENG 29 and get more town aid for that piece all the way through. I'm just saying, Frank, yeah.
Is it a town road, Frank, or is it just a paper road?
I think it's paper, and they have an agreement with, I'd have to research it, but I think there's some sort of agreement where the complex takes care of everything, but there are utilities going through there.
Okay, so
Target.
utility easement is what you're saying.
Right, the old Richard Court, same kind of thing?
I think so.
Mr. Fox?
I don't think I have anything to add here, because I think I kind of agree with Commissioner Payne. Technically, there is no frontage on Costello Road, but
No, there is frontage on Costello Road, 36.6 feet of frontage on
not
Costello
enough,
Road.
though, is it?
It's frontage, it's fee simple frontage.
And off the corner, so I don't.
Right.
And this, your comparing, with Maselli Road, that floored me. I'm still processing that.
I think that if you pull up a plan of that area, you'll see that it shows it as Maselli Road, right?
Right, it's on the monitor behind you.
It shows it on the map too.
Yeah. Yeah, the blue line is the parcel.
Stops at the ponds.
Yes.
That's what it shows
Runs-
on Google, it shows
Runs
that.
exactly on the blue line all the way to Rowley. This blue line here with the jogs in it. That's the road.
Huh, interesting. Runs right through the pond.
Huh?
Said it runs through the pond?
No, right next to the pond, between the pond and the old Toys R Us.
Even if you put aside the frontage, if you think about traffic going in there to the rear of the building, and you can't go around the northern end of it because the owner of the space there parks there and you can't get around the building. So I think it's going to be too confusing for people, and I wouldn't encourage people to drive and use that as an entranceway. That was something else that I noticed.
Okay. Give us both motions for next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, we're going to do petitions for public hearing scheduling, just,
We have one more
Yeah,
old
old
business. We're moving.
Oh, yes, Fenn Road, right?
oh, I'm sorry, okay, yes, I put it in the wrong place. Why don't you read the motion for
Petition
Fenn Road?
12-18, site plan modification at 49 Fenn Road, a walk-in medical center, LLC, owner applicant, Barton Bovee, PE, P.O. Box 7316, Kensington, Connecticut, contact. I move to approve with conditions petition 12-18, site plan modification at 49 Fenn Road, a walk-in medical center, LLC, owner applicant, Barton N. Bovee, P.E., P.O. Box 7316, Kensington, Connecticut, contact. Conditions. 1, the plan shall be revised to address the town engineer's comments dated April 25th, 2018. 2, the approval is made conditional on approval of the proposed septic system by the Central Connecticut Health District.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Is there any questions or
I have a
comments?
question.
Yes, sir.
With the first condition, are we limiting ourselves by dating it to just his comments on April 25th? What happens if there's future comments?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the plans will be revised to address the town engineer's comments dated April 25th, 2018, to his satisfaction, to the town engineer's satisfaction.
I'm just trying to make sure that he has the ability to.
Is that all right with the seconder?
I think I
You
said yes, so
seconded,
yes.
okay, and who made the motion? Mike?
Fine.
Mike.
Fine, okay, so we have an amended motion. Mr. Payne?
Yep. Since they're expressing that it's going to be low volume for that office area for the road cut, which I'm not a real fan of for the second right in and right out, should there be a condition that that area can't be used for retail tenants, it's only an office? Can that condition be put on the type of use that can be put in there or not?
I don't think so. This is a site plan application. It's not a special permit. If it were a special permit, you could, but I don't think you could put that condition. I think it may already be limited, because with that little limited amount of parking, I think the ZEO would prohibit a retail from going in there because there's not enough parking for retail.
You would think.
You would think. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you have your approval, and good luck with the state of Connecticut. Okay, now we're into petitions for public hearing scheduling. You're just going to read into the,
You want to read them, Mr. Chairman? Or you want Mike?
Mike will read them. Petition 3118.
Petitions for public hearing scheduling. A, petitions 31-18, special permit 3.4.9, interior lots at 179 Meadow Street, estate of Fay Karanian, owner applicant Mark Friend, 81 Rankin Road, Glastonbury, Connecticut, contact.
Okay, we're going to put that on for when, Mr.?
Okay, the engineer told me that he's on vacation August 8th, so he asked that it be scheduled for August 22nd.
Let's put it on for, anyone see a problem with that? We okay with that? Okay. Go ahead. And the next one is
Petition 33-18.
the one that we
Just got tonight.
Added tonight. Do you have that, Mike?
There was a memo
There's a memo.
on
Give
the
him
table
the
when you came in.
Petition 33-18, special permit, section 3.11.6, restaurant at 14 East Cedar Street, Newington Development Associates LLC, owner TJ's on Cedar, applicant Timothy Jarrell, 71 Stafford Ave, Newington, Connecticut, contact. This is an application for a special permit to expand the existing restaurant inside the building. The application just needs to be scheduled for a public hearing.
Schedule it for the next meeting.
Yes.
We'll put it on for
August 8th?
August 8th. Any questions on that?
Why is a public hearing needed?
Okay, because restaurants are by special permit, and they're substantially expanding the restaurant. So that's why a fresh a special permit is appropriate.
40 feet,
How much?
840 square feet.
Yeah, it's something like about half again as big. It's a fair amount of expansion.
Okay.
All righty, that's the only two that we have for public hearing scheduling. Next item, executive session has been canceled by the town attorney. Planners report.
Okay, the only item of business I have for you is the final bond release at 3443 Berlin Turnpike. This is the Global Granite site. The bond has been reduced in dribs and drabs over the last couple of years. The final amount was withheld because the grass had not germinated at the last time of the bond release. The grass is now growing nicely. It's been mowed a couple of times. So staff recommends releasing the final part of the bond, and there's a draft motion.
I can't remember, I thought I saw a sheet that had like all the things that were, do we have it in our packet, all?
Yes. Yep. Yep, that's it.
It is,
Way in the back.
yeah. Dumpster pad, fence for dumpster?
Okay,
So it's not needed.
It's not done.
Says it's not needed here.
Why?
What it's got, not needed, release.
I don't remember why the CEO reported that it was not needed. I just don't remember. The commission might have waived it over the years. I don't recall. I can find out if you want.
I think it has to do with the location of the dumpster. I think the dumpster is when you come in off of Costello Road. When you first get in, you take a left, and that's where the dumpster was, and it's right up, backed
there's-
up to the woods.
No, there's another one.
There's another one?
Yeah, there's another one that's for the tenants, farther in there, but it's not visible from the Berlin Turnpike. I'm fine.
Okay. We're going to release that.
Okay, and I included a draft suggested motion after it in the agenda packet.
Mike?
I move to release the remainder of the performance bond at 3320 Berlin Turnpike in the amount of $1,000. Findings. 1, the staff has inspected the site and found the work to be in full compliance with the site plan approved by TPZ on April 23rd, 2008.
Questions? Got a second?
Now I'll second.
Mr. Fox seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we could release that.
Okay, thank you.
What else? Do you have anything else? Mr.
That's all,
Clark?
that's all I have for you.
Do you have any communications?
I don't have any.
Stanley, anything?
No, I just sent you the last CROG updates. I get them about weekly, so I forward them to everybody in the commission.
Public participation? Anyone wish to speak at this time from the public? Seeing none, Commissioner remarks? Remarks by commissioners at this time? No. I have no closing remarks. I'm going to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't need that.
Thank you, Mr. Planner.
You're welcome.
Be stapled.
Yes, there was a question of who was going to get what.